anxious every day and you're having a tough time feeling calm in your body, feeling confident that things are going to go well, and you also feel like you keep going through the cycle of trying lots and lots of different coping mechanisms, but none of them really cut it. They only ever really help when you're using them in the moment by 10, maybe 15%, then this is going to be highly relevant for you. I'm going to be sharing one simple strategy that's incredibly powerful. I've been using it with my clients these past couple of years to make sure that we knock down their anxiety levels systematically week by week by week. And the typical result that we experience is that their anxiety levels will usually go down between 5 and 10% each week, or in some cases, it can even be 5 to 10% over the course of a 7 to 10 day period each and every day. Of course, it depends on your specific applications. But the overall tool I discovered when I started to realize the frustration that people had when they were using positive self-talk and they were trying to take full stock of their internal language. There's so much information out there that talks about using positive internal dialogue and talking to yourself kindly and being nice to yourself. And all that is valuable. But what I learned many, many years ago is that there were a couple key ingredients that were really missing to make sure that you can actually feel fully calm, fully confident, and not feel like you're just basically lying to yourself or you're creating a sense of delusion, right? Telling yourself something positive over and over and over again. And this tool I like to call positive statements of finality. That's the cool key kind of term that we like to use. And the key word there is finality. So positive statements of finality. Well, what does that mean exactly? Well, there are three main things that create anxiety. One of them is what your mind habitually focuses on. The second of which is the physiology that your body typically goes into. And then the third of which is your internal language or the meaning that you are giving to a particular situation. When all three of those activate, they create what you experience as anxiety. The previous two, what your mind focuses on habitually, and then what you do with your body physically, are the subjects of some previous trainings and videos that I've done. And if you would like me to send a helpful link to those, then the best, most useful one I can send you is on a tool that we call the Rumble Strip. So just go ahead and put the keyword Rumble Strip in the comments. We'll be happy to send that over to you for free. And that will help you understand how all three of these pieces work really nicely together. But the one we're going to be drilling in on today has to do with your internal dialogue, your internal language, and how to really shift that in a way that lasts. So the first key thing to understand is that if you're dealing with anxiety on a regular basis, what that means is that you probably have between 4 and 6 common words or phrases that you use each and every day that cause you to feel anxious. The key word that we use to describe those phrases is an incantation. So some of the common ones would be saying, what if, right? What if XYZ happens? That's a very common incantation. Another very common one is XYZ is going to happen. So for example, I am going to have a panic attack. I am going to faint while I'm out in public. If I go out to the party, I am going to get rejected by my friends. So when your mind is making negative statements of finality, when it is declaring how things are going to go in a negative fashion, that's a very common incantation. Another common one, particularly for those of you who have health anxiety, is the word why. Why do I feel like this? Why is my arm tingling? Why is my heart beating so fast? Using the word why as an incantation. It's a little different for each person. I'll give you a fourth one that comes to mind, which is using universal language. So using language like always, never, no one, everyone, all the time, okay, things like that. Those are very anxiety-inducing words. So the first task at hand for you is to figure out what are the 4 to 6 incantations that you use most regularly, because I can guarantee you it's habitual and it's happening pretty much automatically. So studies have shown that 80 to 90% of the thoughts that we have each and every day are the same. So in other words, your nervous system gets conditioned. You start saying the same sorts of things. And until you have awareness of the pattern, you have absolutely no chance in changing the pattern. So that's kind of the first key thing. And by the way, if you don't mind, just go ahead and put some of them in the comments below. Let us know what some of those incantations are for you. The second thing that you want to do is you need to pay attention to what we call the auditory submodalities of your internal dialogue. Now that sounds fancy, but really what that means is you need to then pay attention to the following features of your internal dialogue. Number one, what is the pace or tempo? So in other words, when you're feeling really anxious, what tends to happen is you'll increase the tempo and speed at which your internal dialogue is going. Typically, the faster the internal dialogue, the more anxious you will feel. And that's something that you need to pinpoint. Number two is volume. Not always, but usually the higher volume your internal dialogue gets, the more anxious you will feel. Number three is the orientation. So do you feel like the voice inside of your head is speaking from behind you, from in front of you, to the left or to the right? It may sound sort of silly, but almost always there is some form of an orientation. And then the fourth would be the actual author of the voice. So some people will hear their own internal voice. Other people might hear the internal voice of a parent or a spouse or a boss or something like that. Okay, the reason why you want to pinpoint those is because what tends to happen is anxiety will start low when you're using an incantation in a particular way. And then when you start to amplify the volume, the tempo, when you change the author of the voice or something of that nature, the last one I forgot to mention is tone. When you change the tone of the voice, all of a sudden you might have, say, like a 2 out of 10 anxiety level now jump to a 4, to a 6, to an 8, to a 10. And you're all the way in full-blown panic attack mode. And you don't realize it because, well, you realize that you're in panic attack mode, but you don't realize what's going on with the internal dialogue because all you're aware of is that you just feel horrible. But what you didn't realize was happening is that you were slowly changing the qualities of the internal dialogue every step of the way over the course of a minute or two. And that's what really ramped up the anxiety. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get very full awareness of what your particular internal dialogue pattern is and map that out very clearly. By the way, if you want some help doing this, if you want to know without a shadow of a doubt what your specific submodalities are, which ones amplify your anxiety, which ones bring your anxiety down, if you want to figure that out in a nice, easy, safe way, I'm happy to assist you. We offer a completely free coaching session to every member of our online community. So you can just type the word session below this video. I'll be happy to set that up for you and I can help you. But if you decide to pinpoint that on your own, that's great. The next thing that we want to do is we have to figure out strategic replacements for those negative incantations. So let's go ahead and assume that you are similar to most people with anxiety out there. And what probably is happening for you is you have at least one negative statement of finality. So a negative statement of finality is when you say something like XYZ is going to happen. Now, the specific words you use might be different for your situation, but it usually has the same effect. It has the same connotation as basically saying XYZ is going to happen. So I am going to have a panic attack. I am going to get rejected. I am going to not have a good time at the party. Whatever it is. But the key parts is that it's final. It's negative. You're claiming that something you don't want to have happen is going to happen. And then the last piece of that is just that, I mean, those are really the two most important parts. It's negative and it's declarative. You're basically saying this is how it's going to be. And so the thing that you want to remember, this is a good writer downer, is repetition creates belief, right? So if you tell yourself enough times that it's going to go badly or you're going to have a panic attack, your nervous system is going to believe you. And when your nervous system believes it, then it ends up creating that, right? This is kind of like the negative version of manifesting, right? Most people manifest negative things all the time, and it's because they tell themselves this is how it's going to go. Your nervous system feels totally sure that that's how it's going to go, and then that's how it goes. So what we want to do is we want to introduce positive statements of finality. So what is that? Firstly, rather than making a claim that a negative thing is going to be how it goes, you're going to claim how you want it to go is how it's going to go. So that can be something at the micro, like something moment by moment in your daily life, such as it's going to be a good day, this is going to go fine, the job interview is going to go well, I'm going to crush this thing, my wife and I are going to have a pleasant evening. Okay, whatever it is, some sort of statement about how you want it to go. So that's the easy part, is just deciding what it is that you want and then claiming this is how it's going to go. But the key part is the tone, the volume, and the tempo all being congruent, all being aligned in such a way that it communicates one clear message to your nervous system. Because let me tell you what not to do. Here's what most people do. What most people do is they start out with negative internal dialogue, and they'll start saying something to themselves. This is usually the thought process that happens. They'll usually go, oh gosh, I don't know, I feel a little nervous. I mean, what if I commit to going and then I feel upset and nervous, and what if I'm anxious that day, and oh gosh, I feel like I'm going to be upset. I feel like I'm going to be nervous that day. I know it. I just know it's going to go badly. I know I'm going to have a panic attack. I know, okay, gosh, now I feel freaked out now. Okay, why am I freaking out? What's going on? All right, okay, I think I'm having a panic attack right now. And so what happens is, I'm breaking out of character now, right? The volume increases, the tempo increases, and therefore the anxiety level increases. Your nervous system becomes more and more convinced as you use more and more final tone and volume. I'm going to say that again because that's the really important piece of this lesson. Your nervous system becomes more and more convinced that what you tell it is going to take place as you change the tone and the volume, especially. Okay? So this is why very often what people will do is they will try to talk themselves off the ledge, but they will be unsuccessful. And they'll be unsuccessful because they might be saying the right thing to themselves, but they're saying it in the wrong way. So for example, they might go, okay, we're okay, we're all right, we're gonna be fine, we're gonna get through this. Okay? Like if you talk to yourself like that, your nervous system doesn't believe you because you are using a positive statement, you are using positive language, you are using positive words. But the tone, the tempo, the volume in which you're communicating is communicating something totally different. It'd be like if somebody came up to you and started talking to you like that, right? If somebody that you love deeply, if the other parent of your children came up to you and said, everything's okay, it's all going to be good, there's no issue. Right? If they started talking like that, you'd immediately be like, who the hell died? Right? Like what horrific thing happened? Because you don't believe the words they're saying, you believe the message they're communicating to you non-verbally. Right? Most of the meaning that we exchange through our language is non-verbal. That's what's really fascinating. And so most of what your nervous system learns and believes and adopts comes from the non-verbal communication that you are using with yourself. So the way that you flip this on its head and start to create more calm and more confidence is you use positive statements. But you don't just use positive thinking. You don't just use positive words. You don't just use positive language. You use positive tonality and volume so that your nervous system actually believes you. So instead of saying to yourself, it's going to be all right, it's going to be okay, we're going to get through it, we're going to make it happen, okay, what you want to do is you instead want to embody the tonality and the volume of a confident person. So you start introducing a positive statement of finality like this. It's going to be fine. It's going to go great. We're going to have a really, really good time. It's honestly going to be a blast. Okay. Do you notice the difference between those statements and it's going to be okay, we're going to get through it, we're going to make it happen? It's a gulf. There's a giant gulf between those two, the meaning between those two. If you talk to yourself in one, you're going to feel calm and confident. You talk to yourself in the other way, you're going to feel anxious and you're going to feel like you're ruminating and you're going to get frustrated that you're trying to do the quote right thing by talking yourself off the ledge and it's just not working. So you got to use positive statements, yes, but they must be positive statements of finality. And remember, repetition creates belief. So what I usually do with somebody Here's what I usually do. And again, the offer stands if you'd like help. If you don't want help, that's totally fine. But if you would like a free session and you haven't taken me up on the offer before, just go ahead and type it below and we're happy to reach out to you and schedule it. But what I do with a client usually, and if you're not going to get help with me, then just go ahead and do this yourself, is first of all, I identify what their 4 to 6 negative incantations are, what the actual words are that they use. Number 2, I identify the specific tone, tempo, and volume that makes them feel highly anxious. Number 3, we then experiment with different tones, different tempos, different volumes until we find the exact combination that makes them feel calm and confident like that. And then what we do is we design purposeful incantations. We'd give them 2, maybe 3 maximum positive statements of finality, and we experiment and try them in real time on the session, and we take stock of how they make them feel. So I'll give somebody a particular sentence to say, and I'll say, great, say that sentence out loud. How does that make you feel? 0 to 10. 10 is totally confident, 0 is totally anxious. And they might say 7, and I say, great, that's good. Let's try it now a little increased volume. Let's try it a little, instead of trying to sound like this, let's instead just try to sound totally matter of fact, like it's a total done deal. So we'll experiment with different tonalities and we'll find the winning combination for them. And that's the key thing that you want to do. You don't want to just go, well, I tried the positive thinking thing, I tried the positive language thing, it just didn't work. Because what you really did is you only did like 10 to 15% of the equation. And so you gotta find what those fine-tuned dials and knobs and buttons are on the control panel of your own brain, because there is a winning combination. And it's not just about changing the words you use with yourself, although that is a good place to start. It's about changing the way you talk to yourself, okay? So if you would like a free session, go ahead and type session below. I can help you with that. Number 2, if you would like an additional video that will assist you with this, I did one a couple weeks ago called the Rumble Strip. It details the exact first strategy that I give to my clients in their first week. And it takes what I'm telling you right here and gives you a very tangible, practical way to layer this into your daily life. It'll also give you a really helpful tool that you can put on your phone, so it makes it easy and automatic to actually implement this stuff. So if you want us to message you that, just go ahead and type Rumble Strip underneath this, and we'll be happy to message you and shoot that out to you. And then finally, just make sure that you actually use this and experiment with it, right? Don't give up, like stick with it, right? Because the key thing that you want to have the belief system that you're not going to be willing to tolerate the anxiety staying in your life anymore. And that means you got to commit to the mastery of just a couple key skills. So the result that you're after is not that far off. It's just that you've got to really dig deep on a couple key things. Hope you found this helpful. We'll see you next Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern in our Facebook group, or we'll catch you on YouTube or the podcast the day after. Take care, guys. See ya.